I'm Shahar, and I'm here to talk to you about the link between happiness and movement using my training and experience as a yoga instructor, a psychotherapist, and a movement analyst. So what do these three fields have in common? Well, they all examine through one way or another the idea of nonverbal communication. So my journey began when I was a student, like many of you here, 15 years ago in my home country, Israel. I was looking for a quiet space physically and mentally, and I decided to attend a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana. Well, I definitely got what I asked for during those 10 days of silence, but the silence was the easy part. During Vipassana, reading, writing, or any type of activity is not allowed. I know it might sound crazy. Actually, this type of meditation that doesn't have any type of distraction enabled me to develop my awareness of my body and mind very deeply. My yoga practice continued to stimulate my interest in body-mind relationship through movement. And after a few years of self-exploration, I was inspired to become a yoga teacher to share this amazing way of feeling. I've been teaching in several settings, and one of them is in universities, where I can see in real time how yoga can help to reduce stress of college life. So hopefully by the end of my talk, you can take away some of those tools to help to achieve your happiness. Okay, so let's go back to my topic, the link between happiness and movement. So what is happiness? So happiness is something that we all seek, yet each of us defines it differently. So I find it very interesting, and I've often asked people around me, what is happiness for you? So over the years, I got very different answers. Happiness is my work, my family is my happiness, my solitude is my happiness, my vacation is my happiness. How fascinating it is that we all define the same word, the same thing that we all striving to achieve with such diversity. So my first question is followed with a second. How do you express happiness with your body? Well, to that I get much more similar answers. I smile, I take a deep breath, I open up. Well, on a mission, I decided to see what Google has to say about this. So I just Googled the word happiness and did an image search. And of course, not surprisingly, I found all of those. Yes. But another image that kept recurring was of this people stretching. Arms spread, chest out, palms open. I found image after image of this expansive posture. And it looks like it's very effective on sunset in a field or in nature. So the translation of the body was very, very clear. Oh, that's what happy looks like. Unlike the definition of happiness that is so different from person to person, here in its physical translation, people seem to look more or less the same. So as a movement analyst, this is fascinating to me. The honesty in our body language and how we can perceive each other's feelings with no words. So whenever I search for honest and original insights in regards to nonverbal communication, I go straight to the babies. So because we can learn so much from the primitive movement and the pre-verbal communication skills of babies and young children. So what do babies do when they're angry? They become tense, they flare the limbs. It's very clear that they are very angry with no words. When they're sad, they just simply cry with no regards to settings or inappropriate settings, right? What do children do when they're happy? They skip, they hop, they jump, they somersault. I think the only thing that we as adults has managed to preserve from those primitive expression was this image that kept recurring on Google. Arms spread, chest out, right? But, oh, and of course, the smiley face. We also managed to preserve that one. But I think for some of us, even that expensive posture is almost impossible. perhaps all these responsibilities and all these requirements and all these expectations from life, our physical ability becomes very, very limited. So I find it very interesting, but I feel that if we are able to reach to this happiness in our past, can we rediscover that? So I find that actually in yoga can really help to achieve happiness. So here is my yoga instructor, Carrie Awerko, is demonstrating some of our favorites. So when I teach yoga, I really notice when I introduce childlike movement, it's really result in a lot of smiling people and very inducing happiness. For example, when I introduce jumping as a transition from pose to pose for first-time students, it always results in a class full of giggling students. Suddenly, the child that was hidden it just show up in this group situation and doesn't know what to do. So when I ask them, what is so awkward for you? They say, well, it's been a while since I just jumped around. And I ask them, how does it make you feel? Happy, they usually answer. Another example is when I'm asking them to lie on their back and swinging their legs above their heads to sit up over and over, faster and faster, like a somersault. The result is just tons of laughs. The room transforms into a playground filled with free-flowing and euphoric movement. Well, it's clear to me that this movement relates to earlier, freer time of our life. And I believe the vast majority of us have access to those movements at any time, at any age. Perhaps all we need is a yoga class to give us permission to become a childlike and to use this range of motion that we buried over the years. So when was the last time you skipped? When was the last time you jumped? Oh, okay, jumping, okay, all right. Maybe you're young, so you're still doing that. But how about last time you did a somersault? Now I ask you to close your eyes and just imagine that you're in a field, sunset, and you're watching your parents or your grandparents skipping. Okay, I saw it's already just the thought of it, like there's a lot of smiling and laughs coming up. So if we know that some movement can induce happiness, why won't we use it as a tool? So I believe that awareness is the key to understand our mental state and vice versa. So how do we feel like when we're sad? We retreat, right? Our spine is collapsed, our chest is narrow, our head is tucked under, and then our breathing becomes shallower, which add to the fogginess in our thoughts. We can also identify others just by looking, like others that are feeling unhappy. They can be looking like that, or if it's hard for us to recognize them, we can just try to imitate them and see, or mirror them and see how does it feel to be in this type of posture. So if we can recognize positive and negative body language, we can become more aware of how we feel, and we can understand how others feel. We can also actively replace those movements with positive one and feel more empowered. Now, I'm not trying to say that sadness is not something that we shouldn't experience. Sadness is a very important part of our life. But becoming more attuned to the relationship between our body and our emotion can help us to manage our thoughts and feelings more effectively. And once we become more attuned to those relationships, we can apply it to any type of thoughts and feelings that we have, such as depression, anxiety. But today we're talking about happiness, so we'll continue with happiness. But you can apply it to anything. Okay, so now let's go back to the class filled with giggling students that I had. So there are 3 factors that change and transform those people to much more happier. The first was the motion and the shape itself. So as the students said, they associated those movement and motions with earlier, freer time of their lives. So it was much more freedom. The second one was the rhythm. So the rhythm became faster, so which brought lightness and freedom and lightness and laughter in their body. The third one was the flow. So it transformed from restricted to free flow. So those two very simple movements, jumping and somersault, resulted in a room full of giggling students. But my student did not realize at all that they become more happier, and they didn't make the connection between their feelings and their motion until I asked them about this. So my hope is that by awareness, the same awareness that I learned during Vipassana will help them to take this knowledge and use it outside of yoga class. So not just during my classes, outside in their lives. Well, after we establish this relationship, time for you to practice. So don't try to move, just stay where you are and just notice how are you sitting right now. And you can close your eyes if you want to make your connection to your body more intimate. And just notice if you collapse or you narrow or you wide. Notice your breathing. And just notice how you feel right now. And now we're going to change our posture. So I'll ask everybody to stand up. Good. Okay, good. And now we're going to change the rhythm and the flow. So we're going to jump to a big X. Yes! Did you hear those laughs? Is it recording? Yes? Okay. So we just jumped and there's laughs. And now we're going to change the rhythm and the flow by shaking her palms. Yes! Good. And now let's shake our legs. So lift one leg, foot, and then shake. Good. And now be in huge big X. Spread your palms. Good. And look up, chin up, and just turn to the right and turn to the left and look at all of those shapes around you, those happy shapes around you. Good. And now look up and take a deep inhale. And let's all take a deep inhale and exhale with sigh. Let's do one more. Good. And let's just sit down quietly. Now, just notice how you feel right now, just by doing this big X. And okay. So you can do it at any place, at any time. When you seek happiness, just think about something that you used to do, a movement or emotion that you used to do when you were a kid, and you're not doing it anymore. Why won't you just do it, you know? And if you really don't feel comfortable, just close the door, pull the shade down, and maybe hop. Or you can do it with other children. It's a perfect cover-up for your experiment. And you can do all those images that I saw in Google. You can just search it by yourself and you can see those images. And you can do all of those changes of rhythm and flow that we just did. And if you can, just email me after or to my Facebook. Just write a post, and so I'll know if I would love to hear. I just like, it's very inspiring for me, for my work, but also it's really, really interesting for me to see the results. So I hope to hear from you. And so I just want to conclude. We all have access to happiness through our body. We just need a bit of courage to become a child, just like even just for a moment, to be curious and take some risks. Okay, thank you.